persuade starts with your mind. Years ago when I worked frontline mental health, I received a call in the middle of the night. And when I picked up the phone, my client on the other end said, "Hi Christine, it's Emily. I'm standing over the Bloor Viaduct and I'm going to jump." And I said, "Oh, why are you calling me?" She said, "I'm calling you because I'm contemplating taking my life." And I said, "Oh, surely there must be someone you want to speak with last." And she said, "Yes, and I'm calling her." And I said, "Oh." Now, "oh" isn't the typical response that a kind, caring, compassionate clinician gives when you have someone's life in your hands. And in those moments, while I was listening to Emily, my mind was somewhere else. I had the skills and I had the ability to be able to help her. We're trained to be able to walk literally someone off the ledge. And in the moments where it was most important, it wasn't that I didn't have the ability to do it, it's something was preventing me. And that preventing was, I was so busy in my mind at that point in time of, I'm so tired, I'm so fried, I've spent all day talking to people, I have nothing left to give at this point in time. And I realized if I was going to be able to influence and persuade her off that bridge, I needed to get out of what was going on in my own head, and I needed to be able to get into hers. And so I started asking her some questions. I said, "What brought you to the bridge tonight?" And she told me. I said, "What would it take to get you off that bridge?" And she told me. And I said, "Okay, I'll meet you at the hospital in half an hour." And at that point in time, that was 25 years ago, maybe 26 at this point in time. And at the time that she was contemplating taking her life, she had barely finished grade 10 education. She had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She was living on the streets and she was making some really difficult choices for herself. She felt that that's all she had. With care and treatment, I'm pleased to say that all these years later, Emily is well, she's working, she's married, and she has 2 kids. Now things could have ended a whole lot differently that night if I was not in a place to be able to utilize the skills that I had. And so when I think about influencing and persuasion, I think of all the times that I've had to influence and persuade someone to do something that they haven't wanted to do. And the first place that it starts is always with my mind. So today we're going to do something a little bit more interactive. I have hours of content for you. Well, don't worry, we're not going to do it all. We'll still get out on time. Touch knees, we'll get out on time. But I'd like this to be more of an opportunity to do a workshop. So for you to engage, we're going to do some things where at your tables you're going to get to talk and get involved, and then this will be more of a dialogue. How does that sound? Okay, good. All right. So your first mission, if you're so willing to play, is at your tables. I'd like you to spend 3-4 minutes talking about what's important to be able to, what's so important about being able to influence and persuade. And so if somebody could take notes for the things that you've said, I'll ask someone out on your team, or at your table if they can report out. So let's give you 5 minutes, go. I hear lots of great conversation. And I'm going to ask if you could please wrap up your conversations because I want to hear what you've been talking about. Okay, great. Which table would like to start and share a couple of things? If you give me one point that you came up with, and we'll go round robin. Hi. And do you mind just giving me your name, please?
My name is Roman Zarowski.
Hi, Roman.
And hi. What's important about being able to influence? I can have a few, just want one? Or
I'm going to start with one, and I'm going to kind of go around. Just in case you have all the right ones, then you've left them nothing. So we'll just go with one.
We felt, as parents, for example, if you have children, it's important to give an example for the children to follow so that your kids turn out who they like to be.
So set an example.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Roman. Next table.
Alexandra Bachuk.
Hi, Alexandra.
We would say that listening is important to being able to influence.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll do it. My name is Uliana Tomino.
Uliana.
Well, strategic and to be able to plan.
So to be strategic, that's 2, but I'm going to give it to you. Unless I say it's a strategic plan. All right, bless you. Thank you. Hi.
My name is Mahalo.
Hi, Mahalo.
Yeah, so like to pick one, this is get what you want.
To get what you want. Yes. Absolutely. Okay, thanks, Mahalo. And at your table. Oh, Alex.
It's important to be a leader,
So it's
influence and persuade.
so to be able to do this as part of your leadership skills.
Right.
Okay? Great, thank you. What else did you have on that list? And now you can just go popcorn style.
Makes your life easier.
Sorry?
Makes your life easier.
Makes your life easier if you can influence and persuade people to get what you want.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. All right. So it makes your life easier. What else?
It's empowering.
It's empowering. Yes. What else? To some.
To sell.
Oh, to sell. Yes, to be able to sell something. How many of you are run a business, own a business, have something to do with a business? Put up your hands high. All right. So you know that you need to be able to influence and persuade because you need to be able to sell what you have. Okay, great. How many of you are lawyers?
Sell yourself.
And sell yourself. Absolutely. Advocating for yourself and selling yourself, we do it every day. I have so many people say to me, Christina, I have no idea how to sell. I'm like, are you married? They said yes. And I said, you sold yourself to somebody. So yes, every day you need to be able to advocate for something for yourself. Okay, great. What else?
Leave a legacy.
So to be able to influence so you can leave a legacy. Okay. Thanks, Indri. I'll just put legacy here. Anything else?
The ability to express yourself by persuading others.
So the ability to be able to express yourself and your needs.
And that was tied in, also build self-esteem and self-confidence if others agree, believe in what you say or do.
Yes, it builds great self-efficacy if others believe what you're doing. Okay, great. So we'll all agree then in this room that the ability to influence and persuade is an important life skill. So not only for business. How many of you are lawyers? Oh, lots of lawyers in the room. Fantastic. All right. Then clearly you understand the ability to persuade at times. Now, here's the thing, is we're going to talk a lot about this today, but I'm not just going to talk about influence and persuasion from a positional power. We're also going to talk about how do you influence and persuade when you have no positional authority, or what's the other way I'm looking for? It's not your job to persuade people. And I'll just let that land for a second. So we're going to roll through some of this today on how do we as just individuals be able to get somebody to be able to buy what we're saying. It's not even a purchase of a sale. It's just how do we get people to be able to understand, come along the journey, for them to get to where we need them to be or want them to be. All right, so great. You came up with a lot of good things. I like this. There's often we show up the wrong way. And I'm going to come back to something that Mahalo's table talked about is part of when we want to influence and persuade is we want to get our own way. We want to get what we want, which is an important thing, as long as it's not the expense of others and that there's an ethical persuasion involved in this. So when we show up the wrong way, often we're pushing for something as opposed to pulling to be able to influence people. And I love this quote, once your story changes, the world changes with it, or changes too. And again, this comes from what's your perception of why you're doing what you're doing? Why are we trying to influence and persuade? What's the end game for what we want to do? So I want to ask you, how many of you are familiar, oops, I don't want to walk in front of the stage. How many of you are familiar with the show Dragon's Den? Yeah, okay, so what's the premise of that show? What do they do on that show?
Sell ideas.
Yeah, so they sell an idea. What else, Mahalo?
Persuade investors.
Yeah, so they're trying to do a pitch. They're trying to sell something. They want to get investors. That's a good place to have to be able to influence and persuade, right? So we're gonna watch a clip from Dragon's Den, and while you're watching this clip, I'd like you to write down all the things you see Marie doing. Marie is the woman who's going to do a pitch to the dragons for her business.
Next in the den, a health enthusiast who's hoping she can squeeze a deal out of the dragons.
Hello, dragons. My name is Marie Crawford. I am from King Township, Ontario, and I am here today to ask you for $500,000 for 25% of my awesome business. Now, before I tell you what my awesome business is all about, I want to tell you, first of all, that I am an influencer, that my product and my business changes lives every day. Furthermore, it empowers people and allows them to take charge and control of their own health and well-being. Furthermore, my business is part of a rapidly growing industry. So,
what the heck is it?
Can't wait to see it.
What is it?
Furthermore, can't wait to see it.
You want to know what it is?
We do.
I am here today to give you the juiciest deal that you're going to get in the Dragon's Den. I present to you Pulp Kitchen, Juice Bar, and Healthy Eatery.
Okay.
So much competition.
Pulp Kitchen is a fresh juice bar, and its mission is to provide healthy food and fresh juice to everybody, as well as educate on the benefits of healthy living. So, can I offer you guys some healthy juice today?
Yes, for sure.
Pulp Kitchen currently has one store located in Toronto.
All right, Dish, I have a metabolic zinger for yourself.
It offers more than 30 different juice and smoothie blends that retail for about $6 each.
Red blazer for yourself. Welcome to the team.
Marie is looking for a dragon investment to help open up 2 new Toronto locations.
All right.
Mine's so thick it's not even coming out.
Yep, shake it first, please.
I did, but it's, whoa.
I have actually been in this business for 18 years, and I have been providing people healthy juices since 1996. Right now, I can barely keep up. We're literally bursting at the seams. I have had 5 staff running crazy at my juice bar, barely able to keep up.
How many companies do you think are out there doing the same?
Somebody is going to come new on this landscape, just like Starbucks came on. Somebody is going to do the right juice bar chain. And the breadth of experience that I have, we should be on top of this. It is a good investment. I am very confident that I've nailed it.
And you've got how many dollars in sales?
Last year was 240,000 sales, but we're rapidly doubling month to month from last year.
What are your gross margins like off a product like this?
We're at 20% right now.
You don't mean that's your gross margins, that's your profit margin.
Yes.
That's
Sorry,
your bottom
my
line
profit
margin, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, what are your gross margins like?
I'm sorry, my accountant didn't tell me in that language. I apologize.
The odds of you getting $2 million valuation for your company are about as high as me having a body like yours in about any time from now to the end of the time. It's not going to happen. You're doing $250,000 in
That's
sales.
with a single location. I would be using that $500K to open up
But
others.
you said your business is worth $2 million.
But our sales are doubling.
Doesn't matter.
I understand, Arlene. I'm not necessarily saying what the valuation is now. I'm definitely saying that with tripling my retail outlets, that we would be able to get your return in 3 to 4 years.
But the way investment works.
It is a good investment.
Marie, I think that, I look at the best that I would give in a business like this.
I've never seen business growth from my business ever been this good.
Who gave you the valuation of this? You obviously didn't work it out yourself.
Like I said, the money
was an
I
account?
would use.
We know what you're going to use the money for.
If you had asked me what's the valuation of my business, I probably would not have said $2 million.
Okay,
because
let's
what
stop.
we're looking
Let's stop right there.
Yes.
What would you have valued your company at?
I would say, if somebody were to purchase it out of the box and run with it, I would say maybe $200,000 if I were to sell it tomorrow.
So why are you trying to sell it to us for $2 million?
Because what I'm looking to ask you for is the the seed money to open more locations.
But can I
Somebody's
give
gonna
can
do
I
it.
can I stop
Every
you for a
booster
second?
juice.
You're really a bad listener. Okay, sorry you are. This isn't about borrowing money to build your business. It's about what the company's worth today so that we can build a business together.
Pulp Kitchen is my legacy. It's all I have. It's all I've worked for the past 18 years plus. It is thriving every single day. People tell me how it affects them and affects their lives in changes.
Marie, nobody's questioning that.
So I will do it.
Marie, you've talked enough. We've all heard you. I do like the juice, the flavor of it. I'll come and buy it. But for your valuation and what your thought process is and how you haven't gotten the numbers right, for that reason, I'm out.
Your valuation just doesn't make any sense. I have to go out.
I would rather take the $500,000 because of your valuation misstep and open 3 stores myself. I would rather go do it on my own, own 100% of it, as opposed to 20. So I'm with them that your valuation was just way out of whack, and for that reason, I'm out.
Yeah, 18 years and $250,000 in sales. It's a great way for you to make a living, and you might do well, but you have to think business and act business if you're going to be an entrepreneur who's going to grow a business. And I don't see you doing any of those things, and so I'm out.
What my concern is here, you've been at it 18 years.
True. So Pulp Kitchen has gone through a whole bunch of hills and valleys.
Yeah, but everything goes through peaks and valleys. We went
Yes,
through the
but-
pizza business, we went through a whole bunch of stuff, peaks and valleys, but there wasn't a year when we weren't going like this. You know, I look at the valuation, it's ridiculous. You know, for that kind of money, you would have to give me $250,000 after I give you $500,000. So your business is worth, in my mind, just from you're saying here and what you made, I would give you $160,000 maybe for your business. That's what it's worth.
For the entire business.
That's the entire business.
I really do believe that there will be a new Canadian juice bar chain that will
Absolutely.
come
Sure.
in. And I do know
Absolutely.
from our plans, our designs that have come out of it, that it will take at the very, very most $200,000 to open a brand new out-of-the-box location in a great financial
But you're
district.
not talking about that.
Correct. I understand.
You know, I think, Marie, your valuation is crazy. I'm out.
I think she truly believes. And she
it
came up with
makes
that
me
number.
mad.
She couldn't answer some of the figures that David asked.
Which is why she came with this number, because she thinks she needs $500,000.
You know, not necessarily a deal, but we got some great advice, and we'll take that forward.
All right, so what did you see with Marie?
I just want to point out right off the bat that the Dragons don't know anything about business valuation either, clearly, because there's goodwill, they didn't ask all the right questions. So I don't think either of them knew anything in that particular scenario, because fair market value of a business is based on much more than its gross sales or profit margins. And sorry, they don't know anything either, just to add that right off the bat.
Okay, noted. Noted. And so how did Marie do?
She didn't do very well.
She fell apart. She fell apart. And where did she fall apart? There's a place and a moment where she lost it right away.
It was that moment when they asked her about the gross margins.
Okay, so
They asked her what she thought it was valued at.
yeah. Bring it much earlier. Much earlier.
Right at the beginning, she said, and then there was like a hesitation. I'm here to ask you for, and it's like, just come out positive and ask, because right away it was like, what are you doing?
Okay, so she was hesitant there. Go earlier.
I think her appearance, like if you're presenting a business deal, you're
Ah.
not going to convince anyone in a tank top.
So interesting. So her thing was a juice bar, and it's like I'm selling a wellness of some sort and health. Now, what's interesting about the outfit she wore? How did what the outfit she wore belie what was going on for her internally? She was exposed. Think about. She was flushed the minute it all started going wrong. She had that. And if you're prone to flushing, maybe a tank top's not the best outfit to be wearing when you're trying to go and ask for something. So being mindful. Okay. Her biceps were awesome. Okay, so there was a point in time, right at the very beginning, where right at that moment, she lost it.
Right, I think after she said her name, she hesitated.
Yes, right there.
Before she said where, like she just lost it. She wasn't ready.
You could see right at that very beginning when she said, "Hi, I'm
That's
Marie Crawford from," I'm thinking where the hell I'm from, Ontario. And then she tried to overcompensate by, "I've got this thing, I've got this thing, I've got this thing." And people were like, "What's your thing?" And then her thing was, "I am an influencer." And they're like, "Great, what are you influencing?" Typically, I like to start with something called appreciative inquiry, which means I always start with what went well. In the case of influence and persuasion, I'd actually like us to start with what went wrong. It's easier to navigate that so we know not to do it. So the first thing, that attempt the hard sell up front. Where did you see Marie doing the attempt the hard sell up front?
She was calling the most amazing company, the most amazing deal that we're going to have.
The best deal, the juiciest deal. Yeah. So you saw like she was getting to that. She was building, and it was a hard sell. And then it fell flat. Second one is taking positions and resisting compromise. Where did you see Marie do that? Anxious. Thank you, Anne. So anxious, what else? Are you all feeling anxious?
Excited.
Okay. What is it, Andy? Doubtful. Yeah, it's probably not good either way. All right, so doubtful, anxious. What else are you feeling?
Something you don't want to do, maybe?
Something you don't want to do. Is anybody feeling nervous?
Uncomfortable,
Yeah, uncomfortable. You're in discomfort. Sorry? Okay, so I just want you to think about how you're feeling right now. What would it be like if you had to go into a discussion where you had to influence and persuade someone and you were coming from that space? How effective do you think you would be? Not very effective. Well, guess what? You don't have to do this exercise, so have a seat. See, how are you feeling now? That's fantastic. So now you're all feeling relieved. Okay, so I wanted to play with you a little bit because I wanted you to know what it's like when there's an emotional state that's impacting you. So when you're going into these conversations, if you're not 100% in a great space and you're feeling confident, you're starting from a less than position, which is a lot harder to get yourself back on track. So I want to teach you something on how to get yourself unhooked when you're in an emotional state. How does that sound? Okay, fantastic. So we're going to talk about knowing your triggers. So what to do when you get emotionally hijacked. Part of the game for this is really being able to be center and present. That is going to be when you're the most influential. And so to get ourselves there, sometimes we get into hijack because something happens that throws us. And before I get into this, I want to give you an example. The other day I was on a call with a client, and one of my colleagues, I run 3 global leadership programs for this particular client. And a colleague said, while we were talking on the phone to this client, "I'm not sure Christine is going to want to do that program now that you've taken the coaching element out." Now, him and I have talked about this offline, not in front of the client. And so the client said, "Well, what are you talking about?" And then she said, "Christine, is this true?" Now, if you could see my face on the other end of the phone, I was like, shit. And I was like, She said, "What is it about the coaching that you prefer without the programs or with the programs?" And I said, "Okay, look, I run 3 of these programs. Only one of them has coaching elements attached to it. I just personally feel I add greater value to the participants when I'm able to coach the leadership skills in between the residencies." I said, "So if it's possible, I would love to have more coaching opportunities. If not, then I'd only like to do one out of the 2 programs." And she got very bristly. And so we got off the phone and I texted him and I said, "Thanks for throwing me under the bus. And 2, was she pissed?" because he was in the room with her and I wasn't. And he said, oh, she bristled. And I said, oh, now I need to call and apologize. I can't believe I did that. I was trying to help and now it got worse. And he said, what are you talking about? He said, sometimes it's good for the client to know what the talent wants. And I went, I'm not sure I understand. He said, oh, she bristled, not because of what you said. She bristled because she thought I was taking you off the project. And I went, oh. Now, doesn't matter what the outcome was. I was in no opportunity or ability to say anything that came out of my mouth because I was so amygdala hijacked at that point in time. I was mad at him for throwing me under the bus, and 2, I didn't know what to say to the client without offending them. So this happens quick, people, quick. Now, when I was asking you how you felt, and some of you were feeling anxious or uncomfortable, where in your body did you feel that discomfort? Where did you feel it? So in your stomach, where else have you felt it? In your chest, do you feel it like tightening up? It's kind of hard. Yeah. Your heart is pumping, exactly. Your chest is hurting, your stomach is hurting. Okay, that's really important. I want you to know that because your body is your barometer. You feel 1/100th of a you feel it's coming out tongue-tied today. I wanted you to know where you feel it in your body because you feel 1/300th of a second. You think 1/10th of a second. So you feel things way faster than you think. And so let your body be the barometer of when you go into your amygdala hijack. Now, I'm using this terminology like all of you know what this is. Have you heard of an amygdala hijack before? No. Okay, great. So does anybody know what this is?
The amygdala is part of the brain. It's part of your reptilian brain or something like that.
Yes, very good. So what your amygdala is, it's an almond-shaped, it's about the size of an almond, and it sits in the part of your brain called the limbic system. And what the limbic system does is it helps to regulate your emotions. It's also where memories are stored. You have longer memories when they're tied to an emotion. That's why when bad things happen, you remember it faster, harder, and longer because it has that kind of an emotion attached to it. So, but what the reptilian brain, what that part for the limbic system or the emotion is, it's also part of your fight, flight, or freeze response. That's what your amygdala controls. You don't think about it. We are, I want to say, biologically hardwired for 2 things. Any idea what your brain is hardwired to do? So protect us, yes, so for protection and survival. So we are hardwired to minimize danger and threat. And the second thing that we're hardwired for? What's kind of the opposite? Sorry? No, we don't. So it's the survival part is the first. And reproduction. But the reproduction is the pleasure piece. So we want to maximize pleasure and we want to minimize danger. Now we have way more danger receptors than we do pleasure receptors. If we had more pleasure receptors, we would have died happily as a species a long time ago, if you get what I mean. All right, so because we're programmed for negativity, we're programmed to look for threat and danger, the brain goes into fight, flight, or freeze. And that prevents us. When you're having a conversation with someone, have you ever noticed you don't think well when you're in that fight, flight, or freeze response mode? Your ears, like the blood is pounding through your ears and it's hard to think. And what's happening is your body is preparing for fight, flight, or freeze. So what's happening is oxygen is leaving your brain and it's going into your limbs to prepare for you to fight or to run like hell out of there. And so that's why you don't think well when you're in that space. And sometimes you find like you're doing a talk or a presentation or you're talking to somebody and you've gotten embarrassed or something's happened and all of a sudden you've lost all train of thought. You're like, that's your amygdala. That is definitely your amygdala. This is one of the reasons people don't like to public speak. Because your amygdala is quite high when you go into public speaking because you're afraid of forgetting or looking like an idiot. How many of us like to look like an idiot? Nobody, right. So we want to avoid things like this. All right, so first thing is notice what's happening in our body. Did you notice that as soon as I said we are not doing this exercise, what happened? Yes, because the other thing is when you go into an amygdala hijack, you're holding your breath or you're breathing just from the top part. And when that's also not allowing oxygen into your diaphragm or a good amount of oxygen into your brain. So take a breath. As soon as you start to feel that funny feeling, breathe. Release your breath. Breathe. The next is the fastest way for us to get, and I'm giving you a very long, complex response to this because I really want you to understand how your brain is wired. I'd mentioned that the amygdala sits in the limbic system, which is your emotions. When you're in an emotional state, how many of you think clearly or well? Not so much, right? All right, so what we want to do is we want to move out of that, I'll call it the hot spot of your brain. You want to move into cool thinking. You want to move into your prefrontal cortex or the front of your brain where the logic system is. The best way for you to do that is to ask yourself a question. Your brain, again, is hardwired. It's incredible machinery. Your brain is hardwired to make up stories and to answer questions. So I'm going to ask you a question right now. What do 3 pink flamingos look like flying around the Albany room right now? I dare you to try to not visualize that in your head. How many of you had an image right away of what 3 pink flamingos look like flying around in the Albany room? Right. So, because we are hardwired to answer a question, that's the way to get yourself out of an emotional hijack and into something cool. So I suggest come up with a couple of questions. Now, the other thing is you're going to want to ask good open-ended questions. So give yourself a couple questions you want to ask yourself. And here's one of my favorite. What do I want right now? What would serve me best? What would get me out of this? So I use what questions to help me get into the logic part. The last part of this is get curious. So often we don't ask good questions when we feel that we don't have the ability to influence or someone shut us down. We start to backtrack. And when we backtrack, we're no longer curious. We just want to exit and get out. So get curious and ask questions. What did you mean by that? I posed that question for you earlier. Marie could have asked, under what conditions would you consider investing in my company? It's a great question. That question comes from Chris Voss. Never Split the Difference, who's an FBI negotiator. Anybody ever heard of his book? Ah, great. It's a great book. Chris Voss, Never Split the Difference. It's a great book on being able to negotiate. Okay, so now that I've taught you a little bit about your triggers, I think it's also important that you come from a place of strength when you want to go to negotiate or when you want to influence. So I'm going to have you create your own 10-second commercial. I want you to think about what's important to you, but not only what's important to you, I want you to ask yourself, what difference do I make? So for those of you who own your own business, what difference do you make? If you're a lawyer, what difference do you make? What other professions do I have in this room? Financial. What difference do you make? Great. I want you to think about this. So I'm going to give all of you, I'm going to roll through this in a second. I'm going to give all of you 3 minutes to come up with your 10-second commercial, and then I'm going to get you to find a partner, and you're going to practice your commercial with your partner until you get it nailed down to the way you want it. And partners, you're going to give your person feedback on their commercial. So what's important to your clients? What do they want? I want you to get in the mindset of your clients. Not only what do you bring, but what do they want? And what do I do for them? So your 10-second commercial, what do you do? Who do you do it for, and how does it make their life better? So I want to give you my 10-second commercial so that it'll help you to figure out yours. I teach business owners and people leaders how to recognize and manage mental health issues in the workplace so they can be more engaged, supportive, and have effective teams. So it's almost like your elevator pitch, but I want you really to think about who your clients are. What do they need, and how do you provide some value to them so that when you go to influence and persuade them, you're coming from a power position. Okay, before I have you go off and do this, what questions do you have about your homework or about your assignment right now?
Are we presenting it to the rest of the group?
How would that make you feel if I said yes?
Good, I just take a different approach.
Okay. Okay. I'm not going to have you present it to everybody. I'm going to just have you work in pairs right now. And then if we have enough time, I'll have you just do it at your tables. All right? Any other questions about this assignment? All right. It is, let's give you 5 minutes. Perfect. And if you are done, I'm going to encourage you to go find somebody to share your 10-second commercial with. So if you're done, put up your hand so others can find you. It's like matchmaking. Great, get up and go find each other. Go meet somebody new, introduce yourselves. Has anybody got a 10-second commercial that they love so much they want to share it with the rest of us? All right, let's see. So who's willing?
I'll do mine.
Fantastic. And your name?
My name is Mike Barocas.
Mike.
My friend Gennady, who ran away from me, left. But he brought me here today. I am a lawyer.
Gennady.
I do, so here's my commercial.
Okay.
I represent professionals with their regulators to ensure that their ability to pursue and grow their career isn't unduly obstructed.
Okay, great. Round of applause, please, for Mike. All right, so anybody else have one that they would like to share with us? Yes, please. Wait, your name?
My name is Philip Sochan.
Philip, thank you.
Okay. And I advise governments and businesses on economic and trade law so that they can make Ontario more prosperous.
Lovely. Wow. Yay. We wish you much success. Excellent. All right, anybody else? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ken Pabry. I was invited by Alexandra, yes. I teach advanced driving.
Oh.
It's making better drivers for Ontario.
Fantastic. Great. But I have a question. What kind of advanced driving? Like in snow conditions, you take us out on a course, spin me around?
Teach you how to learn to control yourself at higher speeds in a controlled environment.
Oh.
Race car driving?
That too.
Cool. Okay, great. Thank you. I think I'm going to get your card later. Okay, great. All right. So what was this exercise like for you? What was it like to figure out what you do, who you do it for, and how you make a difference?
It was easy because we were comfortable with it. This is something we do, each one of us.
Yeah, okay.
It's comfortable.
So did everybody find it easy?
No, it was very hard.
Yeah, it's not always easy. And so what made it difficult?
I don't sell myself on a normal basis. I don't feel the need to. So this was
Okay.
out of my comfort zone.
Okay, great. So if this was out of the comfort zone because this isn't something that you do through your work or your career, I'd ask you to take this away as homework and think about how do you do it in your personal life.
It's almost like finding out your unique value proposition.
Yes, absolutely. And when you know where you come from in your unique proposition, value proposition, or in your 10-second commercial, it gives you a sense of credibility for you. Because you can't sell you if you don't believe in you. Right? You got to believe in you to be able to sell you. Okay, great. Now that we've done that, now I want to go to some questions around, this is a process that you can use anytime. I mentioned earlier I use something called appreciative inquiry, which is always asking what's worked well. This is a kind of spin-off of this. I call this the 5Q process. And this is basically, people never argue with their own data. And if you want to be a superb influencer, you need to find out what people's data is so that you can understand where people are coming from. And here's what it sounds or looks like. If I went to an Italian restaurant and it was the best 5-star Michelin Italian restaurant in North America and I got food poisoning, what's my experience at that 5-star Michelin restaurant? bad. Right, it's terrible. Now, let's say my date wanted to take me to the best restaurant in North America, and he wanted to take me to that 5-star Michelin restaurant. And he spent all this time like, oh, baby, I'm going to take you to the best restaurant. It's it's voted the top restaurant in North America. It has this spectacular view of, I don't know, it's got a view of something, some sort of ocean, and we're on a cliff, and the food is to die for. Literally. It's so wonderful. I can't wait to take you. And I'm like, oh, wonderful. What is the name of this restaurant? And he says, the place with food poisoning restaurant, whatever, Postacini's, whatever. And I said, I'm never going there. Will he be able to convince me that I should be eating at Postacini's? No. And why?
Because you had a bad experience.
I had a bad experience. You need to know people's data. People never argue with their own data, period. So I'd like you to think about a time when someone influenced you. And on your piece of paper, I'd like you to write down the 3 or 4 things about that person, what they said, what they did, who they were, how they made you feel. What did they do that helped to influence you on something that you probably wouldn't have done otherwise? Okay, so again, there's lots of thinking. So I'm going to give you 3-4 minutes, and then at your tables, I'd like you to share what you come up with. Okay, so you have 3 minutes on your own. Think of someone who influenced you. Somebody who influenced you to do something, like maybe they influenced you to move to a different country. Maybe they influenced you to work with them in a business you had no idea about. Maybe they influenced you to marry them. That's like my favorite theme for the night. Maybe they influenced you to divorce them. I don't know. Think about what was it that they did that influenced you?
In a good way or bad?
In a good way. All right, if you have at least 3 things, then I'm going to ask you to start sharing with your table. All right, everybody, I'm going to welcome you back. So hopefully all of you got a chance to share a little bit of your story. Hopefully all of you got a chance to share a little bit of your story of what the conditions were that helped you to be influenced. So I would love to hear from you. What were some of the things that this person did, or what was it about them that helped them to influence you?
Share an example. It was my dad who actually convinced me to go to Canada. And his influence and persuasion led me to be here for now it's 6 years, and it was a good decision.
Great. Now let me ask you, what is it about your dad that you listen to him? What is it about him? What does he have for you?
I resisted at the beginning a lot. I thought that I'll be rich and successful back in Ukraine, but he didn't give up. And based on his experience back in Ukraine and his knowledge of environment, I should say, he was consistent.
Yeah.
And in some way, it was more of like, maybe it's too strong of a word, but powerful.
Yeah.
To put that thought in my mind and draw it to something that led me to act.
Yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anyone else? What were some of the things that there was a theme or something that came up at your tables about influencing?
For me, I'm a lawyer, and my father was also a lawyer, and we shared office space together for about 25 years. And I felt that on a professional level, my father was a good influence. And he There's things about how he ran his practice that I didn't agree with, but in general, as a professional, as a lawyer, he had certain expressions. He would always say, do the work first, the money will follow. And he would also say, kind of tied in with that, you know, you're a professional first and a businessman later. And he would give an example, because a lot of lawyers, I think, have a negative reputation of being all about money. And he kind of pushed back against that with his own example of how he did work. And I would often criticize him, he's working for free. But as a human being and as a service provider, as a lawyer, I think he gave a good example, and I learned a lot from that.
Great, great. Thank you. Great, thank you. So just from some of the stories that you shared here, can you see now we've moved to the 4 conditions in which we're able to influence and persuade others. Did anybody have credibility as part of their story? Put up your hands. Yeah, okay, so credibility. What about trust? Did you trust the person?
Personal experience.
Yeah. Did you have a relationship of some sort? I guess with your dads you did. Yeah, so there was some relationship, and it doesn't have to be like an intimate family relationship, but you are friends, or there's something you like, they're a mentor to you. What about shared vision? You could see, you know, Alex, maybe it's in yours, like, did your dad paint a picture of what it would be like for you in Canada?
Well, he painted a picture of what it would be for me in Ukraine.
Okay. So he certainly did help you see a vision. Okay, let's play this for a second. Now, this is primarily for the women in this class, not so much the guys. So women, I want to ask you a question. What is the most difficult thing about traveling for women?
Buy a lot of stuff.
We buy a lot of stuff? Yes, and so what do we do with it? Packing is hard for us. What's the worst thing to have to pack as a woman? Shoes. Beautiful. See, I liked him that you knew that. Okay, that was really good.
It scares me too.
It scares me. Now, what if I were to show you a way that you could have 92 pairs of shoes and only need to pack 1?
Oh yeah, those ones.
Okay, so here are my shoes. I travel a lot. I'm on a flight tomorrow to LA, and then I go to New Jersey, then I go to Chicago, and then Singapore. I can't have 75 pairs of shoes. So my heels come off, and I can have any kind of heel I want on my shoes. Yes. Now, so for those of you who travel, would this be something that would be of interest to you? Yeah. Okay. Now, I don't have any stocks in this company. I don't, although she should, because every time I do a presentation, I show my shoes, and I'm sure there are women buying these shoes, and she should give me money for this. So, did I have credibility? Did you trust me? Do we have a relationship? Enough. You know who I am. You know my name. And did I create a vision which you could see yourself? Men, this means nothing to you because there's no shared vision here for you. Unless you like these shoes. Or you're thinking of buying them for someone else. I'm not sure if they make them in your sizes. However, it's not as much because you can't see yourself like, what am I going to do with these shoes? It's not that important. That's why when it comes to influencing, these 4 conditions need to be met. Typically, we pull on 1 or 2 of the strings of these, but we don't pull on all 4. So it's important to be able to have all 4 of these conditions for us to be able to influence. So the first one, let's talk about the first one as I try to pull my shoe back apart. So with the first one is on credibility. And how we build credibility is by having our words and our actions in alignment. So it's do what you say you're going to do. If you say at work that your clients are the most important thing to you and you consistently cancel client meetings, I will beg to differ that clients are not the most important thing to you. So your words and your actions need to be in alignment. But not only is it your words, there's something else when it comes to our words that needs to be in alignment. And I want to have us practicing this because I love you to move around. So I'm going to ask everybody to get up, and I promise this will be easy. Get up. Does everybody have someone next to them? You have a partner? Turn to somebody beside you. All right, so this is what you're going to do. You're going to practice saying a word I give you with the emotion that I give it. Okay? So I'll explain what this means. So turn to your partner, and you're going to say the word maybe. Okay? But you're going to say the word the first time from a place of anger. Go. Come on, I want to see anger. You're laughing over here. Okay, is everybody done? Have you channeled some anger? It's a very sedate room. Okay, are you done your maybes? Okay, now I want you to do maybe from a place of pure happiness. Hey guys, get closer. All right, so you got your maybes? All right, everybody's practice a maybe from happiness? All right, now I'd like you to do hello from disappointment. All right, you've done your hellos. Now I'd like you to do your hellos from a romantically interested place. All right, has everybody done their hello? All right, so let me ask you a question. What did the word maybe mean? Nothing. What made it mean something? The emotion. The emotion is expressed through tone. Your tone will always belie your emotion. So for you to be in a strong position, you need to self-regulate what is the emotion in which you are saying something. So your tone with your words and your actions, those three things coupled together, that's what helps you with your credibility. All right, great. Have a seat. All right, the next one is around trust. So building trust. When you came in this room today, does everybody know each other? No. Okay, perfect. That's why we put on these events so that you can network. When you came in here today, you were like, oh, I got to look around the room. I don't know if I'm going to check you out. I'm going to see if I like you. I don't like you. You're like looking at me going, I'm not sure if she's going to teach us anything. I don't know who she is. Thankfully, Anne gave me some credibility, so it was good. But the trust. It's hard to develop trust immediately when you come into a room. And again, I want to come back to why we're hardwired for negativity. We're hardwired to minimize danger and threat. When you're put into a new situation, a new environment, and you don't know people, your amygdala has been hijacked. You start to feel stressed. And so you're looking for who looks friendly. You probably struck up a conversation with someone who smiled at you, who caught your eye, who looked friendly. So that's part of the how you can build trust and rapport really quickly. Then at your tables, did you get to know each other a little bit better when you started sharing some of your stories? Yeah. So trust is built through creating safety. And I create safety at my table because I introduce myself and then I share something about me. The person who goes first helps to create the safety for the others. And if you can share something that's important to you or vulnerable, like, I really didn't want to come out tonight, but my wife made me come. So here we are. So I'm hoping I'm going to learn something new. But I got to tell you, I'm not holding out a whole lot of hope. Now, I actually like those kinds of conversations because it's telling somebody really clearly, I didn't want to be here, I am here, my wife is important to me. That's why I came. You say a whole lot about yourself in a couple of sentences when you introduce yourself to people. So think about, how are you trying to create that for people? How are you trying to invite them into your space and to make them feel safe so that they can trust you? And then relationship. So building relationships. Now, of course, relationships take time. Sometimes you only have a couple of minutes to impress somebody or to build quick rapport with them. So in creating rapport with them, I find these things really helpful. What's your attitude going in? Do you have a wise attitude? Because if your attitude is not wise, guess how it's going to come out? In your tone and the words you use. So think about going into something. Hey, I'm going into this thing today. I don't know anybody. What's the attitude I need to have? What's the attitude I'm bringing forward? Because your attitude carries an energy with it. And attitudes are infectious. I want to care about the person I'm having this conversation with. I want to let them know that what they have to say is important as well. And I'm willing to change. Couple of ways that we can create quick relationships with people. Catch your eye and smile. It's wonderful. Now, here's what happens when we don't. Can we play? Stand up. Okay. So let's pretend that you and I have never met before. Okay, and it's the first time that we're going to be meeting each other. So I want you to walk up to me, put out your hand, shake my hand, and introduce yourself. Okay? All right. Okay, here we go. All right.
So, my name is Dennis.
Hey, Dennis, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How are you feeling about me right now?
Pretty well.
Really?
I do.
What did I do when you introduced yourself to me?
Smiled.
Yeah, but what did I do?
You smiled as well?
Yeah, did I? And did I look at you?
Yes, you did. No, you didn't.
Dennis, we're going to try this again. All right. Actually, yeah, I looked away. See, because Dennis knows me. So we've already met. So we have like this kinship. So he's just like, she likes me. So it's going to be easy. It's all going to be okay. You and I have never met. Okay. Same thing as Dennis. Okay? Come up to me. Introduce yourself.
Hi. My name is Taras. Pleased to meet you.
Oh, hi, Taras. Nice to meet you. How do you feel when you meet somebody like me just now?
I just met a stranger, so...
You met a total stranger?
Yes.
Yes. And did I connect with you?
It was cold. Yeah, I didn't feel anything...
Right. Like I could have been a shoe.
Not really, but
I could have been a warm shoe.
Let's say nothing special.
There's nothing special. Yeah, you're not going to want to hang out with me or invite me out with dinner for the two of you.
You didn't smile to me. You didn't.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't smile. And what else didn't I do? I don't make eye contact. Thank you. Can I have a round of applause for these two gentlemen, please? Sometimes when we're nervous and we're meeting people, we don't look at them. I mean, I've been teaching my kids this since they were 2 years old. Stick your hand out, look at someone, smile, and look them in the eye and say, hi, I'm Christopher. I'm Adam. Pleased to meet you. At 23 and 24, they have that nailed now. My older one, he's like a salesman galore. He'd like sell you anything when you're not even looking. He has learned some good, slick tricks. Now, the thing is, when we don't look at someone when they first meet us, we feel like they don't like us. And it immediately sets up a defense mechanism where I don't want to like you. So if you're going to tell me something, or you're going to try to convince me to do something, you know what I'm going to say. Absolutely no way. Absolutely no way. So with that, so smile. Have the right attitude. Smile. Look people in the eye. And have an energy about you that makes people want to come to you. If you're quiet or shy, that's okay. You can be quiet or shy, but at least smile. Smile's got to be your biggest thing. Now, the last one is the shared vision. In creating the shared vision, I come back to people never argue with their own data. When I went to sell you my pair of shoes, I asked, hey, ladies, what's the hardest thing about travel? I didn't tell you packing your shoes was the hardest thing. You told me what your hardest thing was. If you said it was buying a pair of pantyhose, I would have had to change my shtick here. I would have to like, oh, I don't have a pair of pantyhose, so we're just going to go with something else. So I found out what your data is, and I'm able to use that data to draw it. Now, the other thing is, on here it says we need to listen. And I think it was your table at the beginning that said you need to listen to be influential. And we could see, was Marie listening in the video at the very beginning of the... No. And Arlene called her on it. She said, you know, you're a really bad listener. She couldn't listen because she was so busy being defensive. Her amygdala was so hijacked. All she was doing was defending because she felt attacked. That's why she wasn't able to listen. So, but if you ask the wrong questions, then you're not listening to good data. So I want to teach you something really quickly. When asking questions of other people to elicit information from them, ask open-ended questions. Open-ended questions are not innate to us. We typically ask closed-ended questions. Can you do this? Will you do that? Are you doing this? Did you hear that? Is everything okay? Those are all closed-ended questions. So what do open-ended questions begin with? Who, what, where, when, how, and why. Okay? Out of all those, there's one we should never use in these kinds of conversations. Why?
Sorry, I was at the last one.
I know, I love it. So to me, it's why. Never ask why. Roman, why are you sitting like that?
Because I'm in a chair.
Nice. Nailed it. Okay, perfect. So, no, please come back to the way you were sitting. Is there anything wrong with the way Roman is sitting? No, he's fine. He's fine. He's just sitting like this because he's in a chair. Okay, he's comfortable, right? But as soon as I say why, what happened to Roman? Put his hands down, but then he got defensive. What was his response? Because I'm in a chair. As soon as you hear because, you know you're dead in the water. Because is a defensive response. So if you're working with your clients, if you're working with whoever and you're trying to sell something or have a conversation, or your partner and you're trying to elicit information, and you ask a question and they say because, you know you're in trouble. So make sure you go and ask another question. So out of all the questions, out of all the open-ended questions, what do you think was the best question to start with? Out of who, what, why, when, where, and how? What? What? Under what conditions would you consider buying this? What did I say that got you the most excited? What are some of the obstacles or barriers to what you've just heard? What begs you to give information? So what is an awesome question to ask?
Or if you're married, what did I do all of that? What did I do to make you so upset?
That's a beautiful question. Nothing. Your presence. What did I do to make you so upset? That's a great question. And if you hear this is an open-ended question, but it's something else. What were you thinking? Is that a question? It's a statement disguised as a question. What's that question saying to you? What's that statement saying to you? You're an idiot. Yes, no matter where I ask that or teach that around the world, everybody gets that. Doesn't matter what language, what country, everybody knows that means you're an idiot. It's really quite amazing. So your tone with the question helps elicit the information. All of this is around, I can't stress this enough, in creating safety for the other person. Because when we get defensive, whether we're trying to pitch, whether we're trying to sell, or whether someone's trying to sell to us, there's no two-way communication. All this is around opening our communication. When we listen, there's three kinds of listening. There's the first, that's the most typical, is the yes, but. I heard you, yes, but that's not going to work. Right? That's the one we typically hear. And then we hear the yes, and. This is kind of the improv. Like, yes, I heard you, and what if we did this instead of that? I want to just position that both of those are about your agenda. The yes, and is better than a yes, but both of those are about you. Really, the kind of listening that you want to get to when you ask those good questions to discover your shared vision is a yes, yes. And I don't mean like you're saying, yes, yes, I agree wholeheartedly. Just, it's the yes, yes, like, okay, I'm starting to understand your data and where you're coming from. That's all that yes, yes means. After you hear them and acknowledge what you've heard, then you can bring it back up to the yes, and. I would encourage you to practice no yes, buts. Did that make sense? Practice no yes, buts. Lose that one from your vocabulary. There's two things that I always ask people to get rid of: whys and buts. If you can get rid of those two things from your vocabulary, your communication style will be much more effective. All right, are you with me so far? Okay, yes, yes. Thank you very much. Yes, yes, I like that. Okay, so what are the 4 conditions that we need to be most successful in influencing people? What were they again? Trust, credibility, shared vision, and a relationship. Oh, I got the A team today. Yes. Okay, fantastic. So now let's do a little test. How many of you are familiar with The Voice? You know, the TV show where people have to sing? If you've never seen it before, it's all good. So here's the premise of the show. There are 4 voice coaches. And they're 4 voice coaches. It's a blind audition, so they can't see who's singing. All they do is listen. And as soon as they hear the voice they want, they hit a buzzer, they spin around. Sometimes the person singing gets 1 person, sometimes they get all 4. The person who's singing has to choose who the best coach for them is going to be. So it's a competition between the judges. Who's going to get selected as the voice coach? Okay, so you with me so far? I want you to watch this clip, and I want you to guess who you think they're going to choose for the best coach. Okay?
Someone waits for me. He's walking down some street in town, and I know he's looking there for me. In a crowd of a million people.
All you needed right there, baby. That's all you needed.
Valentine. And then I'll climb to the highest steeple and say, the world is mine. Till he holds me, I'll wait impatiently where the boys are, where the boys are, where the boys are. Someone waits for me.
What's your name?
My name is Mary Sarah.
I love that you did a song and did it in such a way that was so pure and so markedly different in feel. Such a consistent, powerful upper register. It really brought me back to a different time and a different place. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Your vocals were pretty undeniable as soon as you hit your first note. And then the boys start pushing, and I'm like, okay, man, that's some stiff competition right there. And then you hit like a belted note in the stratosphere, and I was like, okay, it's just, I look stupid now if I'm not gonna push my button. You were consistent the whole way through. I'd love to be your coach.
Thank you so much.
Very early on when you first started singing, I was like, okay, there's a different voice. As you continued to sing, it was like, okay, wow, that's a classic voice. What made you choose that song?
That song has been such a big door opener in my life. I got to sing it with the Oak Ridge Boys 4 years ago. I love the song, and I thought it would be a good one to pick. So.
Congratulations for sticking to the things that move you, because it landed you in a position to have a 4-chair turn.
Thank you so much.
Are you from Houston?
I am.
Here we go. Don't believe anything that he's saying to you.
I'm so glad that you mentioned your connection with the Oaks, because I think that's why
there it is.
Yeah.
I know about you.
You've heard of her?
Absolutely. I'm telling you, that's why I said you're from Houston, aren't you? I know about the group. You actually sound like you came from that era. And it's going to be so refreshing to hear somebody bring that era of music back to a stage like this. And then to the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville. Let's do that.
That would be amazing.
Get the Oaks.
Let's
get
do
the
it.
Oaks to come sing with you. They don't know the Oaks. They don't even know what I'm talking about. They think I'm talking about a tree right now.
All right, who do you pick as your coach?
Thank you guys so much. And I love all of your music, and I appreciate all the comments. But I really have to go with my gut on this one.
And that is?
Come on. I picked Blake Shelton.
So there's 4 coaches. So the first coach was the very first guy who talked, Adam Levine. Christina Aguilera. Pharrell. Be happy. Just in case you didn't know the song. And then the fourth one is Blake Shelton, who's married to Gwen Stefani. If you don't know any of that, I'll fill you in later. Okay, so he's a country western guy. Out of all 4 of those, as you listened, who do you think used all 4 conditions of influence on her?
Last one, Blake, whatever.
Blake Sheldon.
He also shed the others aside by telling them they don't have a clue who the Oak Ridge Boys were.
And so what did he express to her?
That he somehow connected with her. There was a shared connection, a relationship.
So did he have credibility? Did he build quick trust with her?
Yes.
Quick relationship, and he did the one thing the rest of them did not.
Vision.
He created a vision with her. He was like, I could see you on Grand Ole Opry. Let's make that happen. Let's sing with the Oaks. The very first guy, he's like, hey, what made you choose that song? No, that was Pharrell. He opened up the conversation for Blake, actually, because he asked a great open-ended question. Adam Levine was like, oh, you have a great voice, like that. You sound like you right.
This lady, whatever her name is.
Christina Aguilera, what did she say?
She said, oh, I would look like a fool if I didn't push.
Who was that about? That was all about her. And consistently, she is the one coach who would get the least amount of people.
And then she says, and then at the end, so who's your coach?
Right. So when you have all 4 conditions, see, when you just pull a couple, it's not nearly as successful as all 4. All right, so now you've had a chance. You know what not to do. You know what to do. You know how to get out of an amygdala hijack so you can emotionally regulate to get your best self into this conversation. You also have a place of confidence because you know what you have, what your value proposition is. Folks, thank you. You've learned all the things I have to teach you about influencing and persuasion. I hope that some of this is something that you can apply and utilize as you go forward in your day-to-day, in your businesses, with your clients. Thank you very much. Thank you.